Hello and welcome to the Kopala TV main news. Stories making headlines today. ERB warns retailers against unauthorized price changes. NDC challenges Dora Silia to provide proof of any youth insulting President Lungu. And in international news, Donald Trump calls anti-racism protesters vandals and anarchists. Join us in a bit after this. To present the Kopala TV main news, my name is Monze Mwinga. The National Democratic Congress Party, NDC, has challenged Honorable Dora Silia to provide proof of any youth that has been insulting President Lungu either on social media or any other public forum other than demanding for social justice and delivery of campaign promises by the PF. NDC Deputy Spokesperson Chipoka Mulenga told Kopala TV that the party expects Honorable Dora Silia to be speaking the mind of the government on development as opposed to repeated issuing of threats and sanctioning arrests of people that speak against the tyranny leadership that the PF government has embraced. However, Mr. Mulenga further demanded for the immediate release of Chela Tukuta from police custody to Copperbelt province with charge, demanding that the law takes its course other than political emotions abusing the law enforcement channels.
It is baffling to hear Honorable Dora Silia claiming that the youths are using social media to advance their disparages and also insult President Edgar Lungu. We challenge Dora Silia to prove any youth that has insulted President Edgar Lungu on social media or anywhere else. If there is a person that has abused a president in this country, a sitting president with insults, is Dora Silia herself. In a house of parliament, that's where she raised her middle finger. Memories are still fresh. Pictures are still there. Yet today she wants to come and claim that youths are insulting a president. What a fallacy. All we are saying, all the youths are demanding is social justice, the rule of law to be respected by this government, the perceived corruption to be ended, the equitable distribution of national wealth. We, the youths, are demanding for answers of where the gold that was repossessed in Kasensele mine worth over $6 million has gone. The youths are demanding for an end to giving of our land to the Chinese. The youths are demanding for an end of closing Zambian businesses in preference to the Chinese. The youths are demanding for corruption to end. The youths are demanding for jobs to be given. The youths are demanding for contracts and tenders not only to be given to perceived political aligned people, but to every Zambian person. For that, they are being threatened with breaking of bonds. For that, they are being threatened with police brutality. As NDC, we demand, can this please be put to an end? The PF and Dora Silia must realize that sending of youths into the bush to protest, a price was paid for Dr. Kaunda. He was the last that did that for us. It is unfortunate and unacceptable to see youths going into the bush for fear of police brutality. Lastly, as NDC, we demand that Chela Tukuta, a warn and caution must be heard from him. He has been held longer than the Constitution allows for anyone to be held without charge. We hear he has been moved now from Lusaka to Ndola Central Police. It is against the law that somebody should be held this long without being charged. A warn and caution must be heard.
Agriculture Minister Honorable Michael Katamba today launched the crop marketing exercise at the Food Reserve Agency depot in Mwembeshi. Mr. Katambo announced that the agency has received over 1 billion kwacha from the Ministry of Finance, which is currently with the FRA. He was happy to note that the Food Reserve Agency is readily collaborating with the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU. And the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, donated COVID-19 materials to FRA at the launch of the crop marketing exercise, which will be used by officers who will be buying crops from different parts of the country.
As of this morning, the agency has so far received over 1 billion kwacha from the Ministry of Finance, and this money is currently with the Food Reserve Agency. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like all of you to note that this level of funding so early into the marketing season is unprecedented. This funding demonstrates the commitment and support of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu, to the agriculture sector. It is as a result of his compassion that the President has for the small-scale farmers that the ministry has received this support to ensure the Food Reserve Agency operates efficiently. Allow me to also thank our colleagues from the Ministry of Finance who have worked with very well together to ensure that the funding of the Food Reserve Agency is in place. With such support from His Excellency, the President, and the Minister of Finance, there's absolutely no doubt that the target to purchase 1 million metric tons of maize will be achieved. Please be assured that the Food Reserve Agency will pay cash and on time all that farmers will supply.
The Zambian National Students Union, ZANASU, says it is thankful to the Zambian National Education Coalition and SAIH facilitating the possible engagement, and also the relevant health departments and the Lusaka City Council for allowing the stakeholders' engagement to take place according to health regulations. ZANASU yesterday held a stakeholders engagement meeting with affiliate unions at Impika Lodge. Details in the following report.
The Zambian National Students Union is an umbrella student organization registered on 17th November 1965. ZANASU yesterday held a stakeholders meeting to hear from the affiliate institutions. This meeting was organized so that student leaders share knowledge on putting measures in place which can help save the lives of many Zambian students against the COVID-19, which is a global pandemic.
So this issue to me has been very controversial in the sense that it couldn't be a point of argument. Rather, there are certain things that we can argue. For example, there are certain fees that we pay, maybe say transport fee, which we pay per semester, maybe library fee that we pay per semester. These are fees that maybe for a period of time, maybe could be overlooked to solve the fine. For this period, that we are not allowed to pay the transport fee that you've been paying 500 kwacha, so that you can utilize it on your bundles as you claim to say you are using bundles. Otherwise, even we use actually more bundles on campus than when we are at home.
Even with various measures in place, it has become clear that no one can estimate when the COVID-19 will be brought under control.
Then, what is it that we should do that can be done before forwards? It's not being done right now, because we must be looking for immediate solutions. Right now, students are facing, the challenges that they're facing is either online exams or on-campus exams. Now, if you look at the Ministry of Health and their efforts to regulate the COVID-19 spread out and stuff like that, I think they are really trying to do their best. And if we are going to be a part of this solution, I think we must be more than willing to do something more than sensitization. I think we must be tangible. We must come with full force. If I'm to get Cavendish on board, I must really say something that is tangible that you guys are doing, or that we guys are doing, because this is a collective decision.
Therefore, ZANASU agrees that reopening of institutions of higher learning must continue to be done with extreme caution, but adhere to stringent health guidelines in which the institutions and the government will become active partners in preventing the spread of the COVID-19. Dana Kafwala, Kopala TV News in Lusaka.
In case you have just tuned in, you are watching the Kopala TV main news. Join us after this.
Kopala TV, Kopala ya buena mumwesu Kopala. Kopala TV.
My number ishusho limentindeya yama oji orushani Kopala TV
yama oji imuntu wandi Yesu fwebene by fwebene fwebene aidede kalasti yako Kopala futi yaba Kopala
manje kuikatashani yoina naena ya kuntambo oronijiviji
wala iwe ile sango patop stad koda channel 98 pa ku ninshiyatobela putamenso ninshiyalila niyefizimbwe kule izimuli lapha munjazi
soyolelanda-ti Kopala TV tayabanga yama-boiling channel ako batu wachilatamba fe bwino kwangwa filamba fyambo okupona oluwanfotolo bantu ifuma channel efingi fyamupola fi
alula iwe Kopala TV ni Kopala futhi kuchalo lo ushali mokuba molasti elo ile sansa Kopala yonse my number ukwambila pepa my number pandula lwansha kito paketi ke mufudila mufuken chingola pa chingo begi na chidila iwe ni Kopala TV liko
muntu wanja pakushongora fika top star wetata ndetambela pofi Kopala TV pachani 98 apa kude konkana ne charo bamba to bamba ni pate after pate wo pate after pate wo Kopala TV OG Kopala TV available on Topstar channel 98. Kopala TV, entertainment just for you.
Looking for an opportunity to grow your business? Well, Kopala TV has good news for all small-scale businesses. You can now advertise on Kopala TV's Makwebo. Bonseba na mayo na bashtata. Iseni mulangishe amakwebo yenu pamutengo uachepa nga 100 kwacha. Yes, you heard right. For as low as 100 kwacha, your business will get its peak. Whatever the business, we will advertise. All you need to do is send a text of what your business offers, indicating the name, location, and contact details to the number below. Payment for the advertising spot can be made through MTN mobile money on the number down below. Makwebo, make your business known.
One Zambia, one nation.
Zambia chalo chesu. Stop political violence.
I am Zambian. I am against political violence.
I am Zambian, and I say disarm all cadres now.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
It's not good killing one another as Zambians. Stop the violence.
Let's keep the peace in our streets. Let's work to stay one Zambia.
It's not one Zambia if we kill each other. Stop the violence.
Ndimwina Zambia. Lekeni ukulwa pamulandu wa politics. Welcome back. The Zambia Deaf, Young and Women says government needs to improve the consultation process because the decisions have negative impact on the persons with disabilities and that they are ready to come in and close the gap by the supplementary effort of the government. Details are given in the following report.
Yesterday, there was a donation to Kopala PEO office of 220 transparent face shields for the distribution to 9 districts except Kitwe. Last week, Kitwe received 107 face shields. The hearing impaired learners and their teachers in Solwezi have also benefited from the campaign and donation of transparent face shields. Zambia Deaf Youth and Women Executive Director Dr. Frankson Musukwa says the government need to improve in consultation process because some decisions have negative impact on persons with disabilities.
As persons with disability have not fully participated in the fight against coronavirus. Government has discriminated us. We feel to be discredited persons with disability, especially deaf people. Government gave a package, a lot of money to support persons or people with small businesses. but rather a person with disability did not access that and is greatly affected by coronavirus. The money which was intended to support everyone has left the person with disability with no support. So as person with disability, we feel more and more marginalized and affected with the coronavirus.
Dr. Musukwa also said that they are willing to come in and close the gap by supplementary effort of the government.
I'm personally happy with the organizations support and partners that have raised 2,000 shield masks, which will be disposed to all 10 provinces in the country to use for the deaf pupils and their teachers that are carrying examinable classes. So we are asking government, when you're making decisions, please include persons with disability, because we are also humans.
It's not only in Zambia where the people with disabilities feel neglected. Even in some Western countries, the case is similar. Dan Kafwala, Kopala TV News, Ndola.
The Energy Regulation Board, ERB, has warned retailers against unauthorized price change. According to a statement made available to Kopala TV, ERB says retailers of liquefied petroleum gas, LP gas, who adjust prices unilaterally without following the due process set out by Energy Regulation Board have been warned that they risk facing enforcement action. ERB says recent investigations have revealed that some retailers of LP gas have been arbitrarily adjusting prices without authority from the regulator. This is contrary to ERB stipulated guidelines for retail pricing of LP gas on the Zambian market. Under the guidelines, licensors must submit proposed price adjustment to ERB for proposal prior to effecting changes. The ERB has therefore cautioned all entities operating in the LP gas sector to comply with the government and guidelines and provide requested information or face regulatory sanctions as spelled out in the enforcement manual. The African Union is expected to draft a common position on the rescheduling of cannabis and associated substances in the International Drug Control Framework to facilitate the trade of these substances for medicinal and scientific purposes. Zambia's ambassador to Ethiopia, His Excellency Mr. Emmanuel Mwamba, said the draft is expected to take into consideration the national policies as guided by the African Union Plan of Action on Drug Control and Crime Prevention 2019 to 2023. In a statement made available to Kopala TV, Mr. Mwamba said the decision by the African Union has been necessitated by the announcement that the voting for the reclassification of cannabis is to take place in December 2020 at the United Nations. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization (WHO) has recommended that cannabis be reclassified as it was not particularly harmful, as research had indicated that its use is not associated with significant risk of death. Zambia last year approved a policy to legalize the production and export of cannabis for economic and medicinal purposes. In case you have just tuned in, you are watching the Kopala TV main news. Join us in a bit after this set of commercials.
Kopala TV, Kopala ya buena buena mumwesu Kopala. Kopala TV.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned. And now, in foreign news. A top US infectious disease expert has warned that the next few weeks will be critical in controlling a disturbing surge in the coronavirus cases. Dr. Anthony Fauci also testified in Congress that he and others have not been told to slow down testing despite claims to the contrary by President Donald Trump. We monitored Al Jazeera for more on this story.
I know for sure, but to my knowledge, none of us have ever been told to slow down on testing. That just is a fact. In fact, we will be doing more testing.
Dr. Anthony Fauci and his colleagues testified the pandemic is not over after 3 months of stay-at-home policies and now ongoing anti-racism protests. Fauci urged people to stay vigilant.
And as you wear a mask and you're in a situation where you're getting animated in a demonstration or in a rally or wherever you are, avoid as best as possible the urge to pull your mask down and shout.
More than 3 months into the public health crisis, and there's still a confusing message coming from the highest levels of the U.S. government. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, Washington.
President Donald Trump has called anti-racism protesters vandals and anarchists and has promised to reinforce the law to protect statues and monuments. It came as the funeral took place of Rashad Brooks, an African-American shot as he ran away from police in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. His killing, following that of another African-American, George Floyd, has led to weeks of protest. We monitored the BBC for this report.
In Lafayette Park, just across from the White House, protesters tried to tear down a statue of Andrew Jackson, America's 7th president, and a slave owner who was responsible for the terrible mistreatment of Native Americans. Donald Trump, who installed a portrait of Jackson in the Oval Office when he became president, said this would not be tolerated.
We are looking at long-term jail sentences for these vandals and these hoodlums and these anarchists and agitators, and call them whatever you want. Some people don't like that language, but that's what they are.
And finally, in international news, the coronavirus pandemic is highlighting social inequalities, including a serious digital divide in many countries. Access to the internet has never been more crucial to be able to work and to keep in touch with friends and family. A lack of technology is having a serious effect on millions of students in South America. We monitored Al Jazeera for more on this story.
This student has a decent computer, a quiet place to study, and of course, high-speed internet. They're indispensable, especially now that schools and universities in Chile have been closed for months, and classes as well as assignments are all online. But for 47% of Chileans, these are luxuries well beyond their reach. On the eve of a total lockdown in Chile's capital, we followed Maria Alicia Cordero and her son Dylan to an internet cafe that's been their salvation. Here they look up information for Dylan's homework and print out the assignments they'll need to later email to the teacher. Back at home, they explain that even that will now be impossible because the internet cafe can't open under lockdown.
We only have one mobile phone with a very limited internet plan, and it's not good enough to watch classes online. The connection always fails.
They share the same phone. Maria Alicia, who has 2 other small children, was attending night school to finish her studies. But with no money for internet or a computer, what was difficult before is now hopeless, she says.
I told my teacher that I'd better leave my space to someone else who has the means to keep up with the curriculum and exams online.
Chile has first-world digital technology, but only if you can afford it. 90% of the students at this university rely on government loans or scholarships, and now they risk losing them if they cannot keep up with their courses online. Law student Camila Riquelme explains why, even though her campus is closed, students have decided to go on strike.
We wanted to make the digital divide visible. We're asking that the state guarantee a constitutional right, which is education. And today, education is impossible without access to internet.
Congress has in fact just passed a bill that would oblige internet companies to provide free service to all students who receive government help, which are the majority, while the pandemic lasts.
Through no fault of their own, simply because they're poor, and this unveils the reality of the crisis we are living through that has a strong social impact.
It's a social fault line that, with the pandemic, is highlighting growing demands for digital rights to be considered a human right. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Santiago.
And that story wraps up this edition of the Kopala TV Main News. But before we leave, a recap of stories making headlines. ERB warns retailers against unauthorized price changes. NDC challenges Doris Leah to provide proof of any youth insulting President Lungu. And in international news, Donald Trump calls anti-racism protesters vandals and anarchists. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Monze Mwinga. Pleasant viewing.